Good evening and welcome to the May 21st, 2025 meeting of the Town Advisory Planning Board. And we will go around the room and introduce ourselves.
Christy O'Donnell, attorney.
Valerie Menastra, planning board planning consultant.
Nancy Garcia, consulting engineer of the planning board.
Andy Nolly, secretary.
Don Sharp, planning board member.
Jim Messinas, planning board member. Bill Boyd, planning board member.
Carolyn Stevens, planning board chair. Okay. So this evening we have a public hearing. We had Jennifer and Pascal Smith. 94 Summers Town Road 3-lot subdivision. I guess the question is there anyone here from the public who wishes to speak on it?
No.
Okay.
Is there anybody online?
Oh, I asked Margaret. Oh, maybe it was
I
now.
saw someone from the ESC.
Okay.
Maybe she-
Margaret, is there anyone?
she has- Yeah, maybe it'd be good if she can speak.
Is there anyone who has their hand up who wants to speak?
No, no Carolyn, no hand up.
Marilyn,
Yes.
maybe Marilyn wants to comment? EAC.
She's got herself muted, so we don't know.
Her hand isn't up.
Okay. Oops, Anybody wanna make a motion?
So if you do.
I don't
that-
think,
Do we need a motion to close the public hearing? Or should
I mean,
we
I
keep it
think
open?
there's some more information
Okay.
that we're probably
Right,
going
so
to
we'll
get
keep
from
it
the
open.
applicant.
Okay,
I think Valerie is gonna speak a little bit to that. So,
okay, all right.
Since we're just, since we're having a hearing tonight, so we do want to make sure that the applicant responds to all outstanding memos. And also we do need the applicant to finalize like what's going on with the water in terms of whether it's the new council or not, so documentation needs to be submitted on that. Also, John Turnquist called me. He said he'd like to see if possible to get some information or feedback from the Department of Health from Westchester County dealing with septic. Also, we need some sort of final confirmation on the DEC. We also need a plat, like an official plat that needs to be submitted as well. And then we're gonna follow back up with the EAC and Craig Stevens on comments that, you know, if they're gonna submit any comments. So there is still some additional information that needs to be finalized, and then once we get that a little bit more finalized, then we can come back with looking at a part 2 and potentially part 3 for the environmental assessment forms.
Okay, and, but the applicant knows about everything. at
They
this
should,
point,
right,
that
they,
that
you
we
know,
still-
it's all there in the memos, so we just need like actual responses to everything and.
Excuse me, Alan Pill, JLP Engineering. Purpose of a public hearing is to obtain comments from the public.
Right.
We've had this opportunity here and there's none.
Right.
So it would really, all those things can be conditions of an
No,
approval.
No.
no, and because you still have to submit that information, that new information may solicit additional public comment. So it's not fair to the public if they don't have the full record before them to have an opportunity to comment.
I mean, and the water, for example, is a big issue, whether you're gonna connect in with Newcastle or not.
First
And
of all-
that's
first of
something
all,
we've been
We're
talking
not
about.
talking about connecting to the Newcastle system. What we're talking about is constructing a hydrant
Yeah,
on the Newcastle side. That's potentially what we're interested in doing, but we will not be connecting to have public water. They will not permit that
okay,
to happen.
so we're waiting for more information on that.
But that's no reason to keep this hearing open.
It absolutely is, because if there's more information that's coming into the record, then there's more information that the public should have the opportunity to review and decide if they want to comment on. It's ultimately up to the board, but that's my position.
Yeah.
Doing the time clock. And there's still more, like, cause we haven't finished seeker or anything like that. So
No.
It's not like it's not like seeker is done and everything is complete, at that point.
I'll also mention that we did receive a positive determination from the New York State DEC, and we have submitted a joint application for permit using these plans. That has been
So
done.
we haven't get right, so you haven't sent us
Fine.
any of that.
I will forward that along to you. We've just done that.
Right. So then,
I don't think any of this is a negative. It's
Yeah.
not.
I mean, ideally, even for the DEC, they will want to have a secret determination.
right,
I know, so we're,
We have a situation where they may not review it because you haven't done seeker.
that's right, but we can't,
I'm just telling you, that's the issue I see. It's the cart and the horse. And I've had this happen before with DEP, when DEP won't make a decision until someone else makes a decision.
I understand that, but the last communications we've had from you on even just the DEC was that you were still waiting for some
That's
sort of
correct.
government.
That was a month ago.
So, right, so no information has been submitted to the town since till prior to the last
Fine.
meeting.
But be that as it may, I could see this situation occurring where DEC won't continue because you haven't made that determination.
Okay,
I could see.
so the planning board is just opening the public hearing tonight, so. A secret determination can be made while the public hearing is still open. It's not going to happen tonight because there's still more information that's needed. But that's not to say that a secret determination can't be made if that's the issue. But then, we have to look at what the potential impacts are if we don't know what the DEC's position is. I agree with you that it is the cart and the horse type of situation. So,
And
but
I've had this plenty of times before.
I understand, but I think there's also other things that go into the secret determination that includes like sewer, water, the board will need to see plat in order to finalize. So those are things that,
But the plat comes at the end.
I understand, but it's
The
been in our memo. since the
plat's not gonna be for the public hearing.
why wouldn't it be? It's a subdivision.
Usually a plat is done after the public hearing is long closed and the surveyor then does. Generates.
That's not generally how it happens before this board, okay?
Fine.
So what I'm going to, and we talked about this at past meetings.
Right.
That, are you ready to open the public hearing? Because once the public hearing is open, it is likely not going to be closed until the application is ready for a determination.
Fine.
That's not to say the application can't continue to move forward, as Jim Bassinas was saying, but
Well, I don't see this hurting your application and this is typical, before this board. But we don't usually close public hearings until we're ready to close the whole application pretty much.
I think we'd be happy to finish up this application, we just need to refine materials.
Okay.
Documentation.
So let me just,
do you wanna go over?
yeah, just the item that you had indicated. I just want to make sure that. Yeah, I have various memos and I keep responding to them, so I just want to make sure that I had it. If you can just repeat the list of what you said.
Well, I think, I can pull up my last memo, because that's
No, no,
really what you need
I
to,
don't-
but that's really what you need to,
Fine. I don't need to see that.
okay. Cause that was not responded to, that has all the issues.
Was it
there.
April 10th?
Yeah,
No, I have that, obviously.
Alright,
and then the
Okay.
feedback that Valerie just received from
Right.
John Tarnquist, the building inspector.
About the Department of Health,
Right.
right, to get. Where the status is, if you've had communications with them.
All right. We're done. Unless there's anything else.
no,
You know, further comment?
I definitely have comments.
okay,
Okay, so
one, I'm pretty sure doesn't have to do with this board, but I think it should be commented that the 90 Summertown Road property has caused so much damage to this property, and I know they're going to court, but there is something I don't think that's being addressed at the court, and I think it should be based on my sidewalk with you and the owner.
I'm
Um,
sorry, could you speak a little about that?
Oh, sure.
You can
So,
also come forward.
yeah. So it's and I don't think it has to do with this board particularly, but I just wanted to mention that when I was at the site walk, I saw the damage that the 90 Somerstown Road property owners did to both this property, 94, and it's illegal and on their property,
Mhm.
a lot of illegal activity. And in that area, there was a tremendous amount of invasive plants on this property. I think that should be, I would say that should be brought to the attention of the building inspector. That shouldn't be this property owner's responsibility to clean up stilt grass, which is really hard to get rid of, and it's not present anywhere else on the property but around where the damage was done. And because they've introduced light and now all this invasive material is coming in, so I don't know if that could be added to that complaint that's in front of the courts. So also there's an abandoned fuel tank on their property, which obviously these owners did not put there. It's been there a while. And I'm just wondering if there's needs to be testing to see if there's any leakage from that tank. It's a very large fuel tank. So my general comment, it's a very beautiful property. But there's such tremendous tree loss from that 20-foot driveway, which I know wasn't what the applicants wanted to do. But the septic fields will cause a lot of damage. And has it been positively determined that there's not gonna be sewers?
No.
Or is that a possibility? Because
That's-
sewers would change this project dramatically, because it's a whole big ravine that's now ferns and spice bush and jack in the pulpits, and that would not have to lose the trees if there wasn't the septic. So, and so that's my comment about that. I guess this question for Dan. When you do this calculation for the stormwater runoff, or when they do it, do they include the loss of the trees in that?
Well, it's based upon the change in cover.
Okay,
So wood,
So it is,
wood,
right.
the lawn,
right,
there's a
perfect,
change in how much.
Perfect. okay. And then there was discussion, so I guess that's to be determined if there's gonna be a fire hydrant, so that's something that's being discussed, okay. I am a little concerned when I see the well, the location of the well in lot 2, and of course, this has to do with 90 Somerstown. It seems to be pretty close to those chicken coops, and I'm thinking that maybe this is the building inspector's wheelhouse, as it were. But it seems to me that those chicken coops should not be located in close proximity to an adjacent neighbor's.
I think they're being,
They're being removed? Okay, well,
I
that
mean,
should
that's
be,
part of the court.
yeah,
Well, that was also part of the zoning.
Right, they were denied.
They were denied,
because there's big chicken coops there. I mean, we only saw,
so
I think, 4 chickens.
in theory, they have to take them down.
Right,
See, that, so,
right. But also I think that, I mean, obviously the wells will have to be kept, that lot should be tested.
yeah, they have,
Yeah.
I think they have to have the county sign off on the wells and the septic, right?
Right, well, I mean, I think that's why they submit, did you submit the stuff to the county at this point?
What we have done, not certainly for wells, what we have done is done all the soil testing that's required for the septic systems. That's what we've done.
But no submission to the county?
Not yet. But we'd love to know that we had actually had a project that that this board would entertain. And, you know, I don't want to submit something when the boundaries are going to change and there's going to be comments. But now it's firm enough that I can certainly do that.
Were they out there for depots there or not yet?
They witnessed everything.
Oh,
They witnessed the polls and they did all the perk testing. That's complete.
oh,
Totally
okay.
done.
All right.
So it's just a matter of packaging it up and sending it in. And then, you know, it takes a long time with the health department.
Yes, it does.
Don't have to tell me, I know.
So I guess for John, my question would be to make sure that that even though they're being removed, the presence of them where they are now in such close proximity to a neighboring property where now a well is gonna be situated. There has to be an assurance that that hasn't already caused damage, and if it has, then they have to rectify it. That's just, shouldn't be these people's responsibility. So my other comment, and forgive me if I overlooked this, but, the landscape maintenance plan, doesn't seem to include a deer protection plan on that. And so it should have stated what they're gonna do for that. And also there should be a maintenance plan for the proposed meadow that's gonna be over the septic fields, which is, probably just like a yearly mowing or something, but there should be some indication of how that's gonna be maintained. Because that will, with all the light and this property, that will quickly succumb to invasive plants.
Actually, there was a deer protection fence shown on the plan for the plantings inside the wetland buffer.
Okay, so all the.
There's a section on the plan, that's.
Okay, so I think it should be on the, just to be like noted on the landscape.
Yeah, I'll make sure it's on
Okay.
our highway.
Okay.
It's in there.
But there should be some maintenance schedule, even if it's like a yearly mowing with like a brush hog or something, just to keep that meadow, from becoming all kinds of invasive plants. So, and have you updated this plan? Because I know, I had stated this before, that there were trees on here that are located, they're indicated that they're in where the roadway is and all. Have you updated that?
We've not, and there's no plans have been submitted that have been updated.
Okay. Yeah, so it just needs to be like Xed out if they're gonna be removed. There's some trees that are that you can see that there's a tree indicated where there's roadway and stuff. So that just needs to be looked at.
Okay,
Just make sure
fine.
that's-
I
yeah.
believe if you take a look carefully, at the tree removal plan, I think it's shown accurately.
Okay, I think I see it.
I've already seen it.
Yeah, well, I don't need to.
That's what I'm
We
doing.
just look at it and make sure.
I think it's pretty bad.
Okay, and then also on there, again, forgive me if I'm not seeing it, but the limits of the construction disturbance, is that indicated? Okay.
I'll see 103.
Okay. And then this is a question for Valerie. So the filling and grading, like for the actual houses, that's indicated when we do the site plan review, or is it indicated now?
You are doing like, you're looking at everything at once, so if you
Okay.
feel that something is missing, because that's part of like, your seeker review and stuff like that.
Okay, so again, this might just be something that I'm not seeing on there, but I'm not seeing how, because it's a very undulating property. It's a really beautiful property. So, and the houses have very long, because it's a one-story house, very long footprints over like an undulating property. So I'm not seeing how that's, how the filling and grading is gonna be done on that. And also, and I should have definitely talked to Craig when we were on the site walk, so I apologize. But, I wasn't really sure, again, I had mentioned this last time, if, the trees are gonna be successful planting, and where they're indicated to be planting, when it's like next to the road where there's already trees growing. But am I to understand that the trees along the driveway, they're probably all gonna be removed because it's this 20-foot wide driveway now? Between
It's
the other
indicated
property line,
It's indicated on the plan.
that they're all being removed, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So then
That's it.
new plantings wouldn't be interfering with old plantings.
there's
These old
only
plantings
a
are-
handful of plants that are actually planted inside that 30-foot wide easement.
Okay,
Everything else is specifically on each of the lots.
okay. Yeah, so I spoke to you about this in the site walk, and I've spoken about this before. I really strongly feel that the pools should not be indicated on these site plans. Because they're not planning to put in pools. If the future homeowners want to put a pool in, they can at
I
that
think
time.
we
go
already,
for it.
I think we already said that has to be removed,
Oh, it has to be removed. Okay, okay.
so we'll just wait for the revisions.
And also, I don't know if this was changed, but any plant substitutions or placement changes should be approved by a tree expert appointed by the town, not by their, consultant. I think That was note number 5. And also, again, I mentioned about a performance maintenance bond that should be part of the final resolution. So on the sidewalk, we've talked about a couple of things, and one is to increase screening along Somerstown Road, to include salt tolerant, deer resistant understory shrubs and trees. To just, because there's so much, unless of course you're getting the sewer, then there wouldn't be all that tree loss on that area. But if,
I can-
I can just point out, if I might,
what,
there are just a handful of trees that are coming down for septic systems. You know, remember, we're just constructing the primaries, 100% expansion is not touched. So trees there, and it's anything within 10 feet of the primary septic system. That's it. It's just a handful of trees that are coming down.
It looks like it's the whole area, though. It's a really large area when you're having this spacing up.
But if you take a look at the plan with the number of trees that are coming down, it's really just within the septic system plus 10 feet beyond it. That's it.
let's see. There goes my name tag. It's,
But we can take a look at that afterwards. But I just
but it's
wanted-
the whole width of the property, yeah.
But even within that, well, half of those areas are the 100% expansion areas. And we have no need to put fill there because we had adequate soils. So any trees that are within there, in the 100% expansion areas are gonna stay.
So, this, and I apologize for not knowing this, it's not my forte here, but what the 100% expansion field, what exactly is that for? If they do an addition or if this,
No.
what is that
In
for?
case these fail.
Fail.
I
Okay.
thought those were not gonna be part of,
I have to show them on a plan.
right,
100% expansion area, when the Westchester County Department of Health requires you to,
Just in case.
extend. It requires for an application for any new lot, period, any lot,
Mhm.
to, even an existing lot, you're expanding it, you have to show 100% expansion area.
Okay,
And that is solely if the primary absorption trenches were to fail.
Mhm.
So, you know, it could happen 30 years from now, 20 years from now, who knows? Might not happen 50 years from now, but you are required to show it.
right, but I think we talked about. If you're required, I think we talked about that you're going to. Show it for the purposes of the submission to the Department of Health, but in terms of this plan. Like that wasn't gonna be shown because of the fact that the tree removal and disturbance and everything like that, that was gonna be something, if they did fail, you would deal with it at that point in time.
That's correct. If they were to fail, it could be like 30 years in the future. The trees within the 100% expansion area would need to come down. That's
Right.
how it would work.
Right, so I think,
I mean, I can show them if you prefer, just as a rectangle on a plan, just to show where it's located.
right, because I think we talked.
For accuracy, you want that.
Because we talked about this, this was a while ago, but we talked about the submission in terms of trying to figure out what, in terms of like tree removal, in terms of like. Other elements associated with this project, you were just gonna show it, you weren't necessarily going to have it as like full submission as it was already being approved.
All right, I'll find some way to indicate it that trees within the 100% expansion area are not to be removed until such time, if ever, that the 100% expansion area is needed. I'll have to just put a note on it, and maybe what I'll do instead of showing the actual trenches, well, how they'd be installed, which is what will get submitted to the health department, that's required. I'll just put like a rectangle around it, just so it's indicated as such.
okay, so thank you for that.
Just so at least there's a record of it
Yeah.
at the town level, that you see it. I mean, you'll get an approved plan from the department.
Totally understood, right, so, we did discuss when we were there, you were gonna, and I don't remember which stormwater retention basin was gonna
There's
be
one I said I
relocated.
just, it's the one in lot 2.
So you, oh, it's
That's
for lots
the rain garden for that oak tree.
to save that oak tree,
Yeah.
right,
it's one-
so that was a tree that was gonna come down, but now it's not, right? Is that
It
true?
was indicated as coming down, but that is correct. I will adjust it. It's a very minor adjustment to it.
Okay, but that'd be great if that could be
That's fine.
indicated on the plan, because that's a beautiful, large tree. And then you stated that, there's gonna be a lot of planting around the wetland. So what I noticed, was that there's a tremendous amount of spice bush growing on the property. Is there any way that that could be, any of that in the area that you're taking, you know, although maybe you're not doing where the spice bush was around those, so the septic field. So you're saying you're not doing a tremendous amount of damage there, so. If I understand, that's what you're saying. But any of the spice bush that's being destroyed could easily be moved to that wetland area.
Yeah, I'm sure we can find places for it to transplant it.
Yeah, because it'll do beautiful, and it's a
Yeah,
beautiful
that's-
plant, okay. So the rest of this, if the last part is, I guess, for, you two. Using Rinaldi as an example, we went through this whole subdivision process, and now, he is not building it, he's selling it, and that is always a possibility. So, the proposal is really beautiful, the houses are beautiful, you know, the settings are gonna be beautiful. And certainly, I think it would be an asset to the town to have the project. Of course, it would be better without the, septics. My worry is that, so it's, as I understand it, it's an age in place, 1-story, 4-bedroom, 4-bath, so it's a very, long, big footprint, because it's 1-story. If for something, we hope this doesn't happen, but if, the ownership changes or the plans change and we have the approved subdivision that shows this very large footprint, could someone come in and build a 2-story house on that?
It's 2,500 square feet, which is not large.
Yeah, I mean, but.
That's a large house.
Somebody can build it. Well, if you can come, I mean, then ARB is required for this project. Yeah.
But are they?
But it would still be it would likely be zoning compliant, I think if that's what you're asking.
Right, so we're
So
gonna
site
approve this
plan. would-
2,500, but then you take it to, you know,
You're
double that.
approving, the first thing you're approving is you're approving the subdivision itself. Right, and then there's the ARB component that you'll also approve.
Right, but
But the answer is yes.
But there could,
But
but
yes,
you
you
could
could
also, you
right.
could also put,
I mean, the
For what
septic
it's-
systems are being designed to a certain bedroom count, so that's
Right.
not gonna change, but
Right.
yeah, the design of the house, yeah.
If somebody
the
decides.
footprint should be on the subdivision plat.
right,
And I mean, you could condition approval, for what it's worth, on having it be 1-story.
okay, that's the answer to my question.
Yeah.
Because that would be great, because these are really beautiful what they're proposing. And my worry is that, God forbid, something happens like happened with Rinaldi, and another owner comes in. And we have, all of a sudden, they're gonna propose something that's not
But
beautiful.
we don't, well, excuse me though, we don't want to be completely limited to exactly what's on there, because we need a little bit of wiggle room to be able to adjust our design based on our client. So if somebody wants a, say, 1.5-story home, which our homes are still beautiful no matter what. You know, I brought pictures, so you all can see
I
what we
looked on your
do.
website, they're gorgeous.
You know,
Yeah.
this is what we do. This is what we do. So I want everybody to see, you know, you can pass them around. I don't care if you want to see them. This is what we do. So just prop them up. Yeah, I can prop them up here. So, you know, we would like a little wiggle room to be able to adjust based on cost and based on who our end client ends up being, to possibly be able to do, you know, a 1.5-story, which is not going to change. You know, but you can see generally what we do is very mid-century modern. But for example, you know, this is a 1.5-story home, and this is 2,000 square feet. But it fits in very nicely in a wooded lot. All of our houses go in wooded lots.
This won't be very wooded, this lot, because there's so many trees coming down.
It'll be very wooded. It's, I think, what people would,
It's, I think, like 200 trees, when the regulated and non-regulated, it's about 200 trees that are coming down.
It was. I take a look at the number again, my recollection was it was 74 trees that are coming down that are either in are good in or fair condition. That was the number one.
But then there's all the other ones.
Yeah, but those are generally either in poor, hazardous, or invasive. But, yeah.
It's still covering, you know.
Yeah, I understand, but, you know.
It's not gonna be a barren
we- we've
lot.
The
also-
point is if the discussion is,
Yeah.
it's wooded, and
Right.
the point that Don is making is that there are going to be a lot of trees.
And
Right.
the point also is, when we are going through this, we're gonna have to take our design through ARB, no matter what it is, and get
Right,
it
and I'm,
approved.
But that's a
hoping
different
to-
level
yeah.
of review.
Different
Right.
It's a different kind of review.
right, and I'm
Once
hoping
you
it's
get to
them,
ARB.
because these would be gorgeous and it'd be
Yeah.
massive in town, but what happens if it doesn't?
But that's the point, is that the ARB's review is different than what you're doing right
But
now.
I think their request is reasonable. I mean,
I do.
as long as, you know, it's in the same realm and it's zoning compliant and.
Yeah, it's not gonna all of a sudden be a
Right.
completely different.
We're proving them
style.
out to be viable building lots.
Yeah,
Right.
yes,
And they have to come back if they change, you know, change it.
Yes.
You're gonna be looking at architectural plans, so. You
But
got
I
another
guess my
bite of the
question
apple.
is, if someone else comes in with a massive house and that are, we have to approve that, right? As long as it's 35 feet.
Well, so if it's a let's just say it's a massive house, and it still theoretically meets the setback.
Right,
It's gonna affect your septic, and it's gonna affect your
Okay.
trees, right?
So there is
And
some-
everything could be coming back again.
okay. So there is some, we have some ability to control it, but gets built there.
Well, the septic that's being built.
bedroom count's not gonna change.
Right,
Oh,
like
okay.
the seeker stuff would get right?
Right.
There potentially would be more cutting into the steep slope, so there's just a number of other things that would start getting triggered.
Okay, okay, that's the answer to my question then. Thank you. That's it.
That's it. Okay, does anybody want to make a motion on the minutes?
We should adjourn.
During the
Well,
public
during the
hearing,
public hearing.
June
Right,
18th.
sorry. Can I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
During the motion, public
June.
hearing.
Second,
Yes.
yes.
You vote yes.
Say yes.
I vote yes as well, sorry. Okay, and then, so now we have, anybody want to make a motion on the April 16th minutes?
I make a motion to look at the April 16th minutes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I vote yes as well. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
you, unless you want to do
okay.
that.
No.
I'll second.
Okay, have you voted on it?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Thank you.
Is it really done? No.
Yeah.
I immediately thought I had done.